YouTube.
The tasty YouTube.
This is gonna make me cry.
Hey, nobody said that the show cannot be 60 seconds late, except for you.
True. If it doesn't start up, I'll stop the stream, tweak things, and then restart it again. That'll be fine.
See, no stress, no mess.
Yay!
Is it on?
Yes. Oh, thank God.
I didn't bring my phone out here, which you are going to give me a 60-second warning, right?
Yes.
Push it back inside. Okay, cool. Because I get nervous too, so I'm just like, cigarette, need. And I should be able to cut out all of this dead space before I upload it on the podcast from here on out. So I downloaded Adobe Premiere yesterday, day before yesterday. Oh yeah, I'm sorry if that was like a gruesome image. It was just like my cat came carrying that up to me while I was outside.
Yeah.
And yeah, I kind of freaked out. I was like, ah! And he just like, meh, dropped it right there next to the door for me. I'm like, well, thank you, come inside, get some bacon.
I've had dogs do that too, so it's nothing new for me. Oh, ding! Chris, hello! Good afternoon. We're in our dead space.
Is Chris in the chat, or is he on the hangout?
He is in the chat.
Okay. It would be great if I pulled up. How much time we have? I need to run back there and run back there and poke my mom.
Chris says, "Ooh, bacon. That sounds delish."
Yeah, my mom surprised me with a waffle, cream cheese, bacon, and egg sandwich.
Damn.
That's how she do. JasmoColors just went live on Twitch, but I will be watching on WatchMeWork.
Yep, and we got less than a minute to start.
I'm in my chair. I'm starting up Photoshops.
Here.
And opening my critique folder.
Ah.
So that I'm like, prepared and jump.
Yep. Our audio sounds very balanced, which is great.
Yes, we did do some tweaking. I'm glad that you say that the better now.
So I'm actually going to literally read from the script, at least on this first part. It's alright. And we're going live. Hello everyone! Welcome to the Watch Me Work Critique Show. My name is Jasmo and my co-host is Bronwyn.
How you doing?
Today we're going to be critiquing a photo and some digital pieces, starting with the photo today sent in by Studio HQ. Bronwyn, do you want to start with your side?
I would. And I'm going to move the hangout over here so we don't get screenception.
And screen share.
Didn't have that ready. Hooray! Okay. Ding! Chris. So this is a photo of a Fort Bragg Lantern Festival that they do every year, and I love the colors. I like the motion. I like the story that's being captured here. To make this image stronger, I did have a couple of little tweaks. First of all, if we crop it to about here, then you get a lot more focus on the image, and that's what changes a picture from just being a picture to an actual composition, is if you give the picture focus. And to keep in mind the composition, first of all, you have like the really nifty rule of thirds. So to me, the action would be in the actual lanterns, and so if we use this grid, and crop it to about here, then you get like right here in this super interest point that most people tend to keep to. This isn't like a solid rule, but it's a good guideline. This is where the eye should end up, or this is the most interesting portion of the picture. So something to keep in mind is line of sight, or like the way the eye travels on the piece. And I feel like if this is my endpoint, then the line of sight should go this way, so that your eye starts about here, or your line of action starts about here and goes this way. Another thing to keep in mind is like this is kind of like a story, and Jasmin actually pointed out the motion line here, which is about here. So if these lanterns are the action, then the action line would be this swirl, and this is pretty cross-trainy-y with drawing, where you can have action in a still image. So they go from big all the way to small little dots, and that gives it natural action. So when you're thinking about changing a picture into a composed piece, balance is one thing, but focus is the most important thing. So where do you want the eye to end up? Another thing that can help out is to either make motion lines, or like adhere to motion lines, or invent motion lines. So before we get into the actual line of motion, I wanted to point out, like, if I was drawing this as a piece, this is kind of how my sketch would start out, where I would put in my action line and say, like, this is my miniature animation where they go big to small, because that's what's going to lead my eye, and then I would have little hints of story going on down here at the bottom, because what piques people's interest in a picture or in a composition of any kind is not telling a full story, but telling parts of a story, so that you leave room for the imagination, so that people can kind of say, oh, I think this is what's going on down here, or I think that's what this guy is doing. So leaving out more than you put in can sometimes help with that. So yeah, backtracking to actual lines, you can use the natural lines of the image, or you can tweak the image to add inline. So that would be Jasmin.
That would be.
I'm going to show you how to do that.
Yes. So I had the same thing about cropping. So this is the original image, right? And there's so much going on. To make it a nice, strong piece, we actually crop it down, like Bronwyn mentioned, and then drawing your eye across the piece. There's actually two motions here. Bronwyn said, up this way, indeed, and then a spiral. There's also a line down here that's being made partially by these red shirt guys. And if you want to draw the eye across and then come back up in this lovely spiral, you would add little hints of red and make it a very systematic thing, where your whole piece is like, it's just like the sepia tones and the red, and that will help you draw your eye across here to see all the people and their little stories, as well as following these lanterns up into the sky like so. And let's see, other thing, yep, red shirts. Avoid visual tension. If we go back to the original piece, there is a lot of visual tension, and not really a lot, there are just spaces, and by visual tension, I mean where a piece of something is nearly touching the edge of another thing, and it's just a little uncomfortable. It looks like it either needs to be overlapping, or just totally separated and given a little bit more space, like just a little bit more space. And that's exactly what I did here. Is I parsed this little dude out farther away. I moved, let's see, I moved a couple of them, yeah, down and out away from the edges. This guy was tucked up right next to the edge, so I just moved it out a little bit. And you can do that with photos to tweak them to be a full composition. Let's see, I had another note. Yeah, the reason why you want to crop it down into this nice, neat little piece right here is to, one, cut out some dead space, and two, this is the least important part of the picture, are these lower corners, and that stems from, like, the masters in painting, way back in the day, you know, Leo da Vinci, and farther back, Michelangelo, is that, like, if they wanted to insult someone, they would put their portrait down here, because this is the last place your eye is gonna look, is down in these two corners. So, even though your story is down in here, having the red shirts pull your eye along the bottom creates this nice little, like, quite literally, you know, the spiral and a little spiral here as well. Contrast is awesome. I'm actually kind of surprised these came out as bright as they did. And just basically the color. Tweaking the color so there's only just sepia tones and red will help make a little bit of a bigger impact and bring a cohesiveness to this as well.
I do believe that Studio HQ is in the chat, if she has anything to add.
Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to let us know. Did I make another note? No, just, yeah. Oh, there you go. That's what I was trying to say. My notes turned off. Yep. These sections denote an importance across the whole piece. Yeah, and the lower corners are less important. Yeah. And that's just in general composition, whether it's painting, photography, you know, digital art. It goes all the way across the creative field.
So if you wanted to keep this as a square image, you can do the same thing. You reduce the orange, like the orange glow.
That would probably help. That would probably help in this corner.
If you chop out the little girl, you lose something. You do lose parts of the story.
Mm-hmm.
But how much time is left on this one? Only about a minute.
Mm-hmm.
You do lose parts of the story, but like I was saying, like, if you wanted to keep this a square composition, you can bring in the sides more and bring up the bottom a little less. So if I were to go to the original image and say, oh, I really like this part of the girl, you can then turn this into more of a portrait than a landscape. And you still get all of the beautiful motion in it. You still get, like, hints where you could use this guy in the white shirt with the 21 as your little piece of red, and then you get the pink, and you can crop out the quote-unquote dirt. It was very orange because of the fire. I can imagine lighting. So the stuff down here doesn't really need to be part of the image, so you can crop it more into a square, still keep in some of the story, and get all of the lovely motion.
Indeed, you could even crop that into a really tight, tall, skinny rectangle if you wanted to focus on the girl with just the skirt. Too. There are so many different ways you can crop this, and you can take the same picture and crop different pieces and parts of it.
Absolutely. So that's about, or the fatter rectangle. Too true. That's about it for this piece as far as time.
Yep. Next up, we have Hip Hop Man by Svuitart, a French French gal on DeviantArt. Let's see. Do you want to go first, or shall I?
I can go first.
Okay.
So if we look at, I have it flipped upside down because that helps me like visualize. This is the original composition of the piece. This is how it was presented to us. And initially looking at it this way, it doesn't seem like there's anything wrong. What hinted to me that there might be something wrong with the composition was that this arm lacked defined musculature, as far as, like, one side is definitely going to be heavier than the other side. Love the purple. Yeah, I like the colors of the background as well. Jasmine's going to get all into that color.
Yeah.
So, add all the pics together. Oh, yeah. So yes, what hinted to me that there might be something wrong is that, like, when you know this much anatomy, you have a tendency to put in definition, and when you have when you don't know something about or you feel like something is wrong with the image, you have a tendency to leave out definition. So once I saw that there was no definition in the musculature of the arm, that hinted to me that there was probably something going on. This hand is beautifully drawn, beautifully. Like, hands are so hard. But if we were to follow this, the right side of the thumb, this is where we get into landmarks, right? The right side, or the thumb, has a heavier muscle on that side, which I'm kind of feeling is on this side. So that's my first clue. Then this muscle attaches on the upper side of the bicep, and the upper side of the bicep would have to be here, which isn't a problem if not for the shoulder. And then we have some kind of weird fold here. So if we flip this image upside down, the problems become a lot more clear, where it feels like the image was at one point in time split in two, where this top half belongs to one person, and then the bottom half belongs to another person. So here's how you can approach the drawing to eliminate that sort of, or to correct yourself as you draw. He could be a hand model. Absolutely. So first of all, if you go into the drawing portion of it, right? You start with a stick figure, and starting with a stick figure helps you simplify, and it helps you point things out to yourself. So I did not use an image of a guy who was jumping or breakdancing or anything like that. I actually used a reference of a guy who was holding a serving tray, because that gives you the line of action that you need, and the position that you need for the hand. Then once you have your stick figure looking like, yes, this pose looks believable, you add in your landmarks. And landmarks are super important to make sure you place muscles and body parts in the right way. So if we just use this little reference, we see immediately that this thumb is on the wrong side of the body, where this is your right arm, but that's a left thumb, unfortunately, as beautiful as it is. So once you get your landmarks in, you're like, okay, I don't understand the story of the picture.
It was a commissioned piece, I believe.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was a commission. Why is he doing 100 today? That's a great question. You'd have to ask the commissioner, I think.
Yeah.
So the landmarks can help you, like, make sure you have everything in the right position for when you get more intense into the drawing. Then when you start adding the masses on top of these things, you can get closer and closer to where everything is supposed to be, and then you can start measuring shapes against each other. Is this arm the same shape as this arm? Well, in these two little blobs, you can make that, like, oh, this needs to be a little shorter, this needs to be a little longer. Same thing with the forearm, and then you start correcting your drawing the farther you get into adding detail. Another thing that actually Jasmin pointed out, okay, so if you were to, you're still confused about the thumb, this is a right thumb. So if you look at the, I think it would be on this guy. Oop. This is where anatomically the thumb would end up. Yeah, okay, so you see, she put the thumb on the wrong side, essentially, if that's where she wanted it to be. So
and you're up for time.
Sorry, go ahead.
You're up for time. Oh god, motion lines.
I can be super quick, and then you can go all into the color.
Okay.
So first of all, you add a motion blur instead of action lines. There's a lot that goes into action lines. I would look up some strong tutorials about animation that will teach you how to actually add action lines, and where they're supposed to be. Motion blur and action lines are not the same thing, and that's what will hurt or help your image. Also, folds. you have some rules that you paid attention to, like here and here and here. You paid all the attention to the rules of folds, which are triangles. They're placed wonderfully. And then you weren't sure how to handle this part. Just remember your triangles, and you can nail your folds each and every time because you understand folds. It's just in this arm you were having some trouble, and that muddled your folds because everywhere else they're beautiful. Okay, I get it.
Okay. Into the color aspect of this. The colors are great. You have a really good contrast between the clouds and the sky. The part where it kind of it doesn't get muddled, it gets it's not completely believable because we have one single light source, this moon up here, and in doing so, having that one single light source, you probably wouldn't have light on this side of the body pretty much at all. And this is a little rendering over your paint. I added some shadows to the clouds because you do have them really stark, really bright. I added some shadows for a little bit more contrast, a little bit of depth, a little bit of a dramatic sense here, and then just shaded all of this side that would be in shadow. I did leave a little bit of light because there can be a little bit of reflected light in here. Let me turn my notes on. Yep. And the lighting. So you do have a very strong, good sense of lighting and where light should fall, even on the folds here, which is
so.
Great.
Wouldn't the necklace be the first thing dangling down? If he was, she tried to push him in motion. So technically, the necklace could be pressed up against the shirt from the motion. But the actual angle of it would be farther away from the body, depending on what actual part of his action line he would be. It could be up against the body. It's possible.
Very true.
Sorry, go ahead.
You're fine. Alright, aha. Not much reflected light would be on this other side, though, because there isn't much light to reflect off of anything. Okay, let's see. Highlights and shadows. Oh yeah, to add in those shadows under your clouds, you can kind of follow the shape of your highlight. So I followed the shape of the highlight on here, for the most part, to get where to put those shadows in. And then underneath, I added a little bit of that reflected light, the little bit of kick light. Let's see. Oh, on your rocks, you do have these lovely little contour lines. You can shade where your contour lines are because your contour lines are telling us where shapes live, especially over here. So here we actually have a shape, like a 3D box of a shape right here. That you could totally shade and put shadow on underneath. Let's see. My notes.
Chris, if the shirt is falling, has had time for gravity to affect it, then yes, then gravity would have had time to affect the necklace. It might have been a capability thing where she couldn't visualize where the necklace would have been, you know, in the middle of this action.
Indeed. One last note, where there's a highlight, there is a shadow. So on this rock specifically, you have your highlight here on this side and this side. But underneath, this would be in shadow, at least a little bit. And you pretty much always, you know, rule of thumb, if there's light, there is shadow. And you almost always put them right next to each other. Of course, there can be a little base color in between. But that adds a lot more depth, more detail. I was really fuzzy on it. I didn't render it very well. Oh, the other thing was the stars. Good indication, generalization of stars. The only thing I would do is take some of them out, okay, and add in little tiny sparks, and that's all I had. All good.
Do we have a stream where you color this? That would be cool to see. We do a pre-game meeting where we do all this stuff.
Yep.
I don't think we stream that. That would be kind of bad. Like, here, let's take these people's piece and color all over it as a part of our own stream. That's kind of similar to art theft, and I don't think we should do that.
Unless they ask for it, yeah.
Unless they ask for it, yeah, absolutely. I would totally do it if they ask for it.
Yeah.
So as far as the next thing we're going to do, which would be 5-minute critiques of each other's work, giving each other pointers. What do you want to start with?
We can start on your side.
Okie dokie. So this is Hope. drawn by the lovely JasmoColors. And I couldn't say a darn thing about the painting because, you know, I cannot paint. But drawing side of things, I can help out a little bit. So you specifically said about the folds of the hands, and same thing with triangles. So you have like bends going on in the wrists. It would be valuable to see how you did the coloring. Yeah, if we had more time per piece, I would absolutely insist on that, because that's why she has so many notes driven on it. It's like, make sure you say that. Make sure you say that. So you have tension folds here. That's why I put a little check mark. And then you didn't have them really on this side, but it's the same thing you did here where you had a triangle and it followed the contour. You had it here, you had it here. So you can do the very same thing in all of your joints. This is a joint. So put a triangle and then make little jutting out triangles. That's how you get folds, and they don't have to be as big as I drew them. They can be really, really tiny, but as long as there's some kind of triangular projection off of the creases, you get that sort of sense of there's fabric on top of this. And then this isn't necessary, but you can put the same sort of tension lines you put here on the joints of the knuckles, and that aids the fact that there is actually fabric on top of these things, because you also, I put a check mark here because you have your tension lines going in nice neat triangles here and here. They don't always have to go this way. They can go out to the thighs, especially like I was saying, skin tight materials follow different rules, and so a little hint of it on the knee, it doesn't have to be huge. A little hints here on the ankles would also like aid to that skin tight yet this is clothing feeling. You also said there was something going on with the shoes, and it took me a while to figure out exactly what went wrong, because the drawing, I can tell, is solid. This is a solid drawing. So the first thing I did was I did my head thing, where I chopped off her head and I replicated it to see what proportions we were working with. And then I did the lines to see where everything was falling. So your figure is only 7 heads tall. That's fine. And then basing those proportions off of that, everything falls within parameters of collarbone, nipple. Because of her pose, everything won't line up exactly on these lines, but these are just general guidelines anyway. Everybody varies. So based off of these, I can put on some anatomy and see where the tweaking would have needed to happen in the drawing stage. Yeah, I recommend everybody does it. Even when you're in the stick figure stage, grab your head, replicate it, and just drop it down to see what your proportions look like. Because if you get 3 heads down and you're already in the mid-calf area, there's something wrong. Anatomy-wise, there was only like a couple little things that I had to like keep redrawing to see what exactly was going on. And right in here, there's a little muscular muddling going on. And the reason why I was trying to find that abdominal tutorial is because there's like 12 to 14 different types of ways to draw this section right here. And so I was trying to match it up with something to see if like you had used a reference that had unique anatomy in it. I don't know if that's true or not.
Nope.
But when you're drawing a superhero, you can adhere to the superhero muscle rule, which is when you draw the pectorals, if you want to put in that diaphragm muscle and get a 10-pack, how many heads make up a body? That varies between 5 and 9. Yeah, Mother is a fashion student, so she would say 9. I'm a hero worshiper, so I would say 8. And Jasmin is more realistic.
I would say 7.5.
Right, she would say 7, exactly, because that's more realistic portions. And there is no right or wrong way. Chibis are only 3 heads tall. So yes, you can do the diaphragm straight across and make it really bold. That adds that extra layer to your 10-pack. And then here, just parceling out the abdominal muscles based on this proportion line, where your navel should be about here, so it just needs to come up just a hair, and then you'll get better abdominal muscles, or proportions of abdominal muscles. But there's not really a right and wrong way of portioning out my abdominal muscles, because everybody's muscles are different. That's how you get Mr. Universes. And then I'm not saying this is wrong. I'm just saying I like the comma titty more than the anime boob. But she might be wearing a super tight bra. But I did notice that one breast is just slightly larger than the other.
Yeah.
So I cut it off just a hair there. And again, if you just draw a triangle to your nipple points, and then start a line from the middle to where the crease of the deltoid and pec meet, you get like a nice V, and then you can curve up on the pectoral muscles to that line, and then you get a nice base shape for it. Another little note I had is that yep, sorry. That's all we got.
Time.
Go for
Yeah,
it.
that's all we got. So then we have Morbid's tea piece, her dinosaur tea party piece, that I'm just gonna go on coloring only. And the reason why it has a big old black outline on it is because I couldn't figure out how to basically crop everything down to the size that I needed it to be, so I just put a window around it. And rulers. Okay. Your color choices are actually pretty spot on depending on what you're going for. The yellow or gold walls, I would call this gold, not even mustard, are in a nice spot on the color thing. You kind of want to avoid being all the way on one side or the other of this. So anything in this area that isn't touching a side is a good place to be. So your curtains, if you color pick them, they're good. Your bookcases, they are pretty saturated. You could drop that down. And maybe even just a little bit in the red or area. That could do, you know, some cherry wood. It depends. If it clashes with your red, which that kind of did, you would definitely want them to stay on the orangey side, because this is an orange color. And just drop the saturation down just a tiny, tiny bit, and it will help sit in a little bit better, because you have really red curtains that are really saturated. Your blue carpet, since these are just flats and you don't have like any shading on your background or anything, your blue carpet would work excellent as long as you did shade it. Just take a step up from your mouse, from the color, just put the tail of your mouse right in there and then click upwards, and that could be your shadow color. Unless you wanted it a little more dramatic, then you put it a little more in the blue or purple area. Your dinosaurs, I noticed. This is a green. I was like, is that black? It's not black. It's almost black, and that's probably the thing that stands out the most on your dinosaurs, is you go from a pretty bright, vibrant color to nearly black, and the only thing I would do is step that up maybe just one little notch so you can see the black contours of your ink drawing underneath. That does lighten up the nose quite a bit, but that depends on how bright and cartoony you want your piece to feel. If you want it, just super cartoony, since these are definitely pretty fluffy dinosaurs, the bright green is good. It is definitely good because you want them to be the most important thing in the piece. So they should be the focus and the brightest thing. Maybe lighten up your table just a little bit, or maybe to match the wood.
I thought we did like a dual intro at the beginning to say that we were doing each other's pieces, but I might not have said that clear enough, Chris. Yes, so the dinosaur tea party, the only part that I had the capability of finishing was the actual dinosaurs, and then when I got to the background portion, I did not have the capability to even know where to start coloring that. So that's why I asked her to help critique this piece.
True. Very true. And I totally forgot about that, so I'll focus back on the background. Your bookcases and the books. You can actually make these stacks of books just one singular color and do a gradient, kind of like you did on your dinosaurs, either top to bottom, or probably top to bottom and not really side to side. And same with your walls, just a gradient going top down, like you did with the dinos. And then just flatting things. You can actually leave all of these in a shadow. And by shadow, I mean just like kind of grayed out. And it's actually alright that they are the same color as the bookcase to be put in shadow, because they're less important than the dinosaurs. They are not the focus. I would maybe just adjust, like, you already did it right here. Oh god, give me my pencil.
We're
right
out of time.
Here and ta-da. We are out of time. So, thank you everyone for watching. We appreciate the artists who contributed, Studio HQ and Sweetheart, our French gal, much appreciated. Bronwyn, thank you for participating as well.
Thank you, Jasmin.
Yeah. If anyone else is interested in having your work critiqued on the show, you can send it to me at this email address right here. We accept digital pieces, traditional, photographs. We can do sculptures if you have pictures of them, short literature pieces, music if you like, and so on and so forth. And we will catch you guys all next time.